Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we dig into interesting source material, try to pull out the key insights, help you get informed quickly. Today, we've got something, well, pretty different. We're diving into excerpts from a stand-up comedy transcript.
That's right. It's from Reg Thomas via the Don't Tell Comedy YouTube channel. And, stand-up obviously is meant to be funny, right? To entertain. But so often, it's also this, really potent, unfiltered way of looking at culture, identity, all the unspoken stuff in society.
Yeah.
So in this deep dive, we're going to use his personal stories, his observations, to maybe find some surprising takes on modern American life, and especially the immigrant experience.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to see how these really personal anecdotes can actually light up these bigger social issues, things like navigating racial stereotypes or even pushing your own boundaries. So, yeah, let's unpack this. Humor, society. What can we find here? Okay, so Reg Thomas starts a set, and right away he's hitting on race, how people perceive things. He talks about being in Miami.
Yeah.
Right, and he hears this news story about a Luigi guy who shot a CEO. But what got him was the news describing the shooter as light-skinned at first. He found that kind of weird because, well, usually it's just black or white, right, on the news.
Yeah, and it's fascinating how he jumps right on that. It exposes the racial coding that just happens in media, often without us thinking about it. And he makes that joke, shooting someone 6 times, then leaving on a city bike.
Right.
He says that's as white as it gets. And he contrasts it, saying, niggas would have been in an Uber pool.
Yeah.
It's funny, but it's also sharp. It shows how these seemingly neutral descriptions or even assumptions about crime, they're loaded with these subconscious biases. They reinforce stereotypes, even if that's not the explicit goal.
And he connects that to politics, too, how Donald Trump's presidency shifted things. He joked he didn't hear Spanish spoken loudly in public for weeks after the inauguration. People were actually whispering it, even in Spanish neighborhoods.
Yeah, that whispering Spanish joke. It's not just about, words having power. It shows how quickly political talk can create this real, tangible feeling.
A riddling effect, kind of.
Exactly. Self-censorship within communities. And the fact that he, a U.S. citizen, felt shook, worried about getting deported back to Haiti.
Even though he's American.
Right. Just lays bare this deep anxiety about belonging, about identity that exists in immigrant and minority communities, citizenship or not.
And that immigrant identity thing, he really digs into it, often with these hilarious contradictions. He says he's too American to just get deported to Haiti. And his proof, he owns a water pick.
The water pick.
Yeah. And he runs on microplastics and chemicals because American food has pesticides. What's he really getting at there?
Well, it's brilliant, isn't it? He's using that self-deprecating humor to satirize being first-gen American. He's making fun of the natural food idea elsewhere.
Right.
By claiming he's fully assimilated into, American processed existence. It's a really clever way to talk about assimilation, down to the weird dietary stuff we adopt. He's basically saying, I'm so American, my body runs on this stuff.
It's identity through food additives.
Pretty much.
And he also goes right at stereotypes, especially about Haitians, people asking if they do voodoo.
The voodoo thing.
And now this new rumor that Haitians eat cats and dogs. He even says he called his mom about it.
Yeah, and she was like, no, of course not.
Right.
But the way he tackles that stereotype is great. By making light of it, calling his mom, he shows how absurd these prejudices based on, just ignorance really are, and how sticky they can be.
Right.
And that little addition, that if Trump had said it, he would have called his cousin.
Yeah, that was sharp.
It just perfectly shows how easily misinformation spreads, how it takes root, especially if it fits a narrative people already believe, and how much the source matters, even for something ridiculous.
Definitely shows how quickly people grab onto stereotypes. But he's also super proud of his Haitian heritage. He points out Haiti was the first Black republic, broke free from slavery first.
Huge historical point.
But then he immediately undercuts it, saying, I wasn't there, so I can't take the credit.
Classic comedic timing.
And then he tells this joke that he admits divides the audience. Imagining American slaves hearing about Haiti's freedom.
Oh, yeah, though.
And basically saying, nah, sounds too good, not getting on another boat. That's pretty bold.
It is bold.
Yeah.
And it's such a powerful use of comedy. It exposes these deep historical ironies, right? Different views on what freedom means, what risk feels like. It suggests something really human, actually. that even in the worst situations, past trauma can make you skeptical, cautious, even about the best possible news. It adds this complex layer to how we think about history and liberation.
Makes you think differently about that moment. Then he shifts to these like smaller signals that show he was raised by immigrants.
The little tells.
Yeah, like getting dressed up for the airport, even just flying to Fort Lauderdale.
Not sweatpants.
Right, not like someone from Flatbush wearing a sweatpants and hoodie, the way he eats chicken to the bone.
Right down to the marrow, yeah. Calls it whiting.
These seem tiny, but what do they really represent, do you think?
Oh, they're huge. They're like these little windows into inherited cultural values. Dressing up for the airport, that speaks volumes about presentation, maybe the significance of travel itself, often instilled by immigrant parents.
Okay.
And the chicken thing. It's funny, but it's also this visceral symbol of not wasting anything, a value often learned from families who maybe face scarcity. So these small habits, they actually reflect these much deeper principles passed down through generations.
Huh. Never thought of eating chicken like that.
Right. It connects.
Then he talks about Carnival, West India, Trinidad specifically. Sounds like an intense party.
An island shut down for a week of just celebration.
He describes seeing this guy in a wild costume, mango on his head, dildo taped to his butt.
But the guy's just dancing, having a great time. And Reg admits he was kind of hating like a Haitian. Turns out the costume was a fruit cocktail.
Huh. Okay, that's quite the image. But what's interesting there is, yes, the amazing cultural expression of Carnival, but also his honesty about his own reaction, that hating like a Haitian line. It's self-aware humor about maybe an internal clash, like a cultural inhibition or judgment bumping up against this totally free expression happening around him.
Yeah, I see that.
The fruit cocktail punchline just seals it, showing how this like radical self-expression can just be joyfully, even if it pushes your buttons at first.
Definitely pushes boundaries. And speaking of uncomfortable, he gets really personal, really vulnerable. Talks about getting a colonoscopy when he was only 17. This is after getting stabbed in the stomach.
Wow, okay. Heavy stuff.
Yeah, and he contrasts how mortified he felt with how some comedians joke about liking the procedure. He mentions the doctor asking, "Do you feel that?" and just wanting to die.
Yeah.
But then he connects this whole humiliating experience to realizing what an honorable death meant to him, contrasting it with being talked to like a whore in a hospital setting.
That's a powerful connection.
And he says that feeling, that lack of dignity in that vulnerable moment is what actually kept me out the streets, made him go back to school, which is quite a pivot from being stabbed.
It really is. And it's profound, isn't it? The physical trauma of the stabbing versus the like psychological humiliation of the medical procedure. It shows how sometimes these moments of deep vulnerability, the ones that feel undignified, deeply uncomfortable, sometimes those are more powerful motivators for big life changes than the more, dramatic or violent stuff.
Interesting.
He realized dignity wasn't just about like toughness on the street. It's about self-respect, the path he chose. It's a really insightful point about what truly shifts a person's direction.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, and then another unexpected experience.
Seems to be a theme.
Totally. He talks about a Friendsgiving that turned out to be an orgy.
Oh, my.
He admits he kind of thought he might be an orgy guy beforehand.
Fantasy versus reality.
Big time. He quickly realized he wasn't. He describes being the only black guy there, maybe 40 people total, just observing so much white sex.
That's a specific observation.
Yeah, he calls it like staring into the sun or looking like a lava lamp. He even observes white boys fuck with their shoulders and not their hips.
Okay, the level of detail here.
It gets specific. And this woman having aggressive orgasms no one believed.
Right.
Then he compares that scene to an all-black orgy he went to later. Says it was way more lit, better music.
But there's always a but.
But he jokes about black customer service and like Pandora ads killing the mood.
Pandora ads. Okay. So this whole anecdote, it's definitely out there. It's explicit. But what's he doing with it, comedically and maybe culturally? Well, it's a really sharp, funny way to explore sexual norms, cultural expectations, and that gap between fantasy and reality you mentioned. He uses his position, being the outsider in the first scenario, to make these super pointed observations about, cultural dynamics and intimate spaces, the comparisons he draws, shoulders versus hips, the music, the customer service joke. They're actually these like really incisive little sociological comments. They show how deeply our cultural background shapes everything, even something as basic as sex.
So even an orgy has cultural rules.
Well, apparently. It highlights how different groups bring their own, unspoken styles and vibes to any social situation, even that one.
Okay. And then to wrap things up, he tells a quick story about his first time getting heckled.
Ah, the heckler? A comedian's rite of passage.
Right. It was in Flatbush, a hood room, he calls it. And this gay black dude in the crowd just wasn't feeling the jokes and just yells out, "Nigga-boo!"
Nigga-boo! Just like that.
Just like that.
Well, that little story kind of brings it full circle, doesn't it? Back to the raw, immediate nature of live comedy. That instant feedback, sometimes, confrontational. It just shows the vulnerability of being up there on stage.
What's really fascinating, stepping back from all these specific bits, is just how Red Thomas uses his own life, these deeply personal stories, these observations, as a way to process and get us thinking about really complex things, social dynamics, identity, all that stuff we talked about. He takes these moments, sometimes extreme, sometimes intimate, and somehow makes them feel kind of universal. He reveals truths that maybe we don't talk about openly.
Yeah, that really comes through. So thinking about this whole deep dive, what does it mean for you listening? How should you think about storytelling? It feels like his humor was just this really direct route, a shortcut almost, to understanding different views on race, on being an immigrant, on feeling vulnerable.
He took stuff that could be really awkward or heavy and just made it approachable through honesty and laughter.
Exactly. And if you zoom out even more, it kind of poses a bigger question, doesn't it? About where we get our insights from. This deep dive shows that, deep social commentary, it's not just in academic papers or serious news. You can find it just as powerfully in a stand-up routine.
Or a song.
Or a song. Or just a casual chat, right?
Yeah.
If you're really listening, really open to seeing it.
So maybe something to consider. How often do you run into that kind of profound commentary just hidden in plain sight? Could be in a joke you hear, a line in a song, something a friend says offhand. What do those little observations actually reveal about us, about our shared experience, if you actually take that second to really listen and, do a deep dive into what they might mean?